So that was actually lying there in the night, thinking and going, okay, well, you know, how can I best explain this? So I'm going to try again. If you've got any questions, please ask. So if we look at the easy assignment, working from the simple to the complex, numbers 1-1 through to 1-4 on this assignment, so all of these first 4 questions, actually, these 4 here, sorry, all the way around, all these 4 here relate to 1.1 over here. Okay, so those are the first 4 questions, if you want, from the simpler assignment, build up and can be used as part of the beginning of 1.1 on the second one. And the key takeaway from there is that we covered John Adair's model, remember, the task, team, and individual. Well, the task, team, and individual are factors that influence the style of behaviors. So the first 4 questions in this assignment feed in to what the factors are, task, team, individual. What we then did was we broke them down a little bit, and the key factor is the culture or the organization that you work in, ADA. That's the number one most important factor in any company when it comes to behavior and leadership. Because the way that the organization says that you should behave, the vision, mission, and values that they stand for, they expect to see in the leaders. So if you don't have some of those things, you've got to practice them and develop that. You've got to kind of become, in a way, what they would like you to be. Or, if you choose not to do that, you've got to explain why these things are slightly different. Okay. Any questions about this bit? We've got procedures, rules, your own manager. So your manager within that organization is also going to have an impact on how you do things. So what I've put up here is, look, task, team, individuals, they're all factors. These things that we referred upwards that were beyond our responsibility and accountability, security, safety, resources, how much holiday leave, etc., they're all factors. Do you have people on holiday? Do you have a high turnover of staff? Can you recruit everybody you need? So anything from these are factors that you can choose. You don't have to do them all. I think it says 2, doesn't it? It says you must give at least 2 factors will have an impact. So choose ones that you actually feel that you can report on. The biggest one, however, is the company culture. Now, I said yesterday that you may find that awkward if you haven't worked in the company. But for those that have had some attachment with it, speak to them. Ask them how they've found things tend to be. And you can actually say, because we're new in the company, I'm not 100% sure of the type of style we've got, but I've spoken to others in the group who have got attachments with them, and it seems to be that this is the kind of company they are. Do they live up to the values? Are they people friendly? Are they good with you? What do they expect? If you've worked in a previous company, you could perhaps base it on that a little bit and say, in my previous company, it was more this way. And so the way that I was able to lead is the same or slightly different. So have you kind of got the idea of where the 2 assignments fit together? But obviously assignment 2 is a little bit more complex. So then it goes on to talk about, for part 2 of the question, I'll walk up the front again. Look, let's look at this, styles and behaviors. Well, yesterday we covered styles. So John Adair was a model, it's not a style. That was a model that explains the factors and the things that you should do. It is not a leadership style. It's a model that helps us understand what a leader does and what the factors are that we have to consider. That would be brilliant. Yeah, if you were to put that in. I'm sorry. If you were to put that in your mind, so that would be a good start, you know. We covered John Adair. It explains the things that a manager's got to consider, i.e. the factors, but it's not a style. The styles were, number one, autocratic, i.e. do it, versus participative. How shall we do it? And the first model I showed you was Tannenbaum and Schmidt. So there is a leadership style model which says that the amount of power that you give over to your workforce depends on whether you're autocratic or participative. So the amount of power and empowerment that you give away will vary according to the task, team and individual, according to the factors. So depending on the situation, depending on what you have to deal with, depending on your task, team and individual, you will choose to be either autocratic or participative. Is that? Yeah? Kind of? No? Silence means yes. Okay. But that's a very simple model because it says it's binary. It's like binary code. It's off or on. And so are you always going to switch between being shouting and being collaborative? No. It's somewhere in between. So if you were to explain that as part of your explanation style, it isn't quite simply a yes, no. It's somewhere between. But that's difficult to measure. That's difficult to quantify. The next one that we did was Hershey and Blanchard, the video of the guy in the 1970s. And he said that there are 4 styles that you can choose between. And you did a questionnaire that gave you 4 styles. So in that questionnaire, you actually know what your style is, but let's go back to behaviors. Because up here, all of these things are leadership behaviors. And the question says, assess yourself and describe the factors that will impact on your behavior. That's one question. Or your style. That's the second question. So behavior is what you do. Style is how you do it. Does that make sense? Shall I repeat that? Behaviors are what you do. Style is how you choose to do it. So all of these leadership behaviors you've already identified on day one of this particular module, when I said, okay, think of a good leader, what kind of behaviors did they show? And you came up with these. So perhaps explain them. Leadership behaviors. We identified Sheikh Zayed, peace be unto him, as a great leader, and there were various behaviors that he showed, in our opinion. Okay, so that's behaviors. So you have to explain behaviors. And you could choose one. You could say, well, okay, I actually think I'm a good organizer. That's one of my behaviors. And that comes in very useful when I do X, Y, and Z. I actually think I'm a good communicator. I actually think I've got a good vision. They're your behaviors. Yeah? Styles then. I actually added some styles to it because after we did situational, depending on which team and individual you're dealing with, you will switch your leadership style. If you look here, I actually made a rather quick attempt at linking the color model. Do you remember the red, yellow, blue, green? Red, direct, blue, systematic, yellow, creative, green, considerate. So what I did was I went, okay, if you're talking about somebody being kind and caring, that's green, that's collaborative. So this leader, let's take the one that you chose. Let's take Mohammed bin Zayed, that you've got up here. Vision, he showed a yellow style. Being wise, okay, what one is that? Maybe blue, maybe it's thinking through. Being confident, that's red. Being a good listener, green, once again. Good manners, green, being collaborative. So in one individual, and the question that was asked by Arup late yesterday was, okay, can you be more than one? And the answer is, you must be more than one. However, you must know what your dominant style is. So I know what my dominant style is. I told you, it's red. But I've had to learn to be a little bit more green with teams. I've had to learn to try to be a little bit more creative. And I've definitely got to be a bit more organised, because then I won't forget my hearing aids. You know, there again, it's systematic. So what you actually could say is that you did a comparison of all the kind of behaviours of people that you thought were good leaders, and what conclusion did we reach yesterday? What were the majority of you in the room? You were green. Now, is there any wonder that you're green if the culture, the society that you live in, all the great leaders in that culture have been green? But they've been also able to do a bit of red, not often. They don't use it a lot. I mean, in my reading about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him, yeah, he was very kind, he was very considerate, he was very generous. But the minute he had to be red, he could be incredibly focused and ruthless, because that was the only way he could bring together the Bedouin tribes and get them on his side. That was the only way he could control his armies and the generals of the Prophet. I've read a book on that, the generals of the Prophet Muhammad, the companions as well. So he showed all of these skills, but the predominant one was green. So is there any wonder that you're green, the majority of you? And you can use that when you come to do your self-analysis. You can say, well, okay, maybe if we were from a different culture, we might have a different mix of leadership styles amongst us, but we are who we are, and we're proud of it. So all I did, I went through all of these behaviours, and I said, look, green, blue, yellow, green, blue, green, yellow, blue. Very little red. But that's not a bad thing. They didn't need to be. But on occasion, you do have to be. And the whole point of assignment 2 is basically to get you thinking about what you would do in that particular condition when the factors were such that you had to switch your leadership style from being considerate to being a little bit more direct. Or you had to switch your style from being creative and inspirational to be a little bit more planning and systematic. That's kind of what it's all about. So we did Hershey and Blanchard, which were the 4 styles. Now where you have to link that in, or part 2 of the second assignment, is, okay, explain why the leadership styles or behaviours will have an effect on an individual or a group. Look again. How the style will have an individual on the team or the individual. So it's all gone back to Mr. John Adair again, in a kind of roundabout way. So let's play with that for a minute. Well, that's what I call playing. I think you call it torture. But if you're all predominantly green and I'm predominantly red, what will the impact be? Or think back 2 weeks ago. What would the impact have been if I had come in and I had been totally red? And that meant, you're late, not on time, don't do that again. Your work's not of a good enough standard. Listen to me, pay attention. What if I'd been like that all the time? What impact would that have had on you as a group? Be honest.
Less productive.
Sorry?
Less productive.
Thank you. Because if but think about it, I'm saying that is me predominantly, deep down inside, when I'm on my own, that's me. So to not be that, I've had to have experience and learn and practice and go, well, we're the group I'm working with, and when do I have to be that way, and when do I have to switch? So if I had used a very red style with you, you'd have switched off. If a group of you are green, and you're all caring for each other, on the other hand, if you were trying to convince me to do something as a member of your team, and you kept talking about team identity and we must work this together, I would be thinking, what's in it for me? Because I'm red, I'm competitive, I want to get ahead. So, we're all different. There's a good point to start with. We are all different. And so therefore, if I don't understand the person that I'm dealing with, the individual, I might use the wrong style with them at the wrong time. So it'll have a negative effect. Okay? Remember also, this little activity we had you to do yesterday, this is where the skill-will matrix comes in. Yesterday afternoon, you had a list of 6 scenarios, and we said, which style would you use with which group? That was effectively what this question is about. So when you come to 1.2, you have to understand your behaviors and the style, and explain that. And then you've got to apply it to that scenario. If I've got a group of people who are young and ambitious, I would have to use a different style than a group of people that have been in the company for a long time and were old and tired. So that's where you've got to consider the skill and the will of the individuals and the team that you have. There was just a throwaway line in that when Mr. Hershey was talking about how you've got to flex those styles, and he mentioned motivational theories. And Mohammed at the back started to explain a little bit about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which are that you need physical things, you need safety, you need security and to feel that you belong, you need growth and to become all that you can be. As Hertzberg said, you need to have a good salary, you need to have a house, you need to feel part of a team, you need opportunities for development. That's where motivation comes from. Motivation equals will. So when you hear skill, will, W-I-L-L, all that will means is motivation. So you don't have to go into motivational theory. It's not a motivational theory topic. But you have to say that people are motivated by different things. So some will be motivated by career, others will be motivated simply by philus, others are motivated by the sense that they're giving something back to the community and that they want to be part of that team because they feel that the team is doing a good thing. They want to be part of ADAA because they think that independence, integrity and competence are things that they would like to be associated with. So what makes people do what they want to do? That's their willpower. So you've got to consider the difference between motivated and well-trained people and people who are demotivated and not well-trained. Then Jim Collins was the last video I showed you where he said the most important thing is who. In other words, get the right people. And if you get the right people with the right willpower, then the skill side of things you can develop. In fact, a lot of companies now say it's not so much about you coming along with a good range of skills. They kind of expect that. They expect that you're good at IT, that you're good at business, marketing, creativity, whatever it happens to be that you're employed to do. What they're more interested in is what kind of person you are. Are you the right person to be part of that organization? But not every organization has the luxury of being able to be very picky and very selective. From what ADAA are telling me, they feel that they want to be that kind of employer, which is why you're doing the kind of course that you're doing in the way that they want it delivered. And think about it for a second. Why? Okay, what are we using? Not we. What are they using the assignments as?
Class.
Sorry?
Class.
In what way? In what kind of test? Yes, they want you to have the knowledge, but why choose to give you not just all of the exams that we're doing? On top of that, they've asked me to cover things like ethics and values. They've asked me to cover information gathering, problem solving, project management.
Do you see how we're going to be able to achieve our tasks when we go to the company?
Absolutely.
Regarding even the deadlines that they're going to give us.
Absolutely. And so they've deliberately pushed a lot at you to see how you react to it. And I've been kind of suggesting that to you from day one, because it makes actually very little academic sense. I should give you far more time to think about things, to question, discuss, do smaller bits of assignment and give you more time to do it. So they're using the assignment and the course as a means of putting pressure on you to see how you go. That's because they want to get the right people on site. So they've perhaps read a bit about Mr. Jim Collins, who says the who is as important as what you have to get people to do. Okay, so behaviours. You've done it. Link it to the leadership style, whether it be the coloured model, whether it be Hershey and Blanchard, or whether it be Tannenbaum and Schmidt, management versus leadership, or try to participate. If you want to be a very clever bunny, you could do all of them. Very briefly, you could say things have moved. You know, they've moved from early thinking, such as Tannenbaum and Schmidt, which was very binary, onto Hershey and Blanchard, who said there were 4 styles that you could use depending on the ability of your team, to something a little bit more modern, such as the Jungian model, which we were shown on the course, which was more about your dominant behavioural type. This is the one I'm going to use. Then choose one, because then you can apply yourself to it. See, I try to help you, and it just makes, and you just end up looking depressed. Okay, maybe it's just me. Okay. Right. These 2 parts of the assignment, the section 2s. Section 1s are always simpler than section 2s. So section 2 asks you to apply it. But if you look at the first assignment, the feedback that you could gather was from anybody, albeit different sources, on your overall performance. So you've done that for the first assignment. You then listed it, or you started to list it, and you put it into a small action plan. The difference between that one and the second one is because you've got to choose 2 things. You've got to use a model from here and take the feedback that you got from this one. So the things that you found out about your leadership for the first section, when you asked me, you asked each other, you've got to link it to a model. That makes sense? No, people are going, don't get that. Okay, the first ones you ask, okay, what are my behaviours? Okay, my general behaviours were, I'm a little bit too quiet. Or it might be, I come to the front quite well, but I perhaps need to be able to bring other people into the team discussion. Part of it might have been, I'm very good at working in the team, but I don't like working on my own. It might have been, I like working on my own, but I don't like working in a team. This is for the first assignment. These are my behaviours, this is what I do. In part 2, you've got to go, okay, I work on my own, and I don't like working in a team. This means that I have actually got a blue, organised style of leadership, that I adopt a more managerial and process approach to everything that I do. Therefore, I need to develop my creativity, my drive, my collaboration. So if you're a loner, you probably have to work more with a team. If you're somebody that likes working in collaboration and doing things together, it might be the opposite. I like working with people together. I am green. I'm an empowering, engaging kind of leader. But I don't work very well when I'm given an emergency task to do. Which means if I've got to switch that style, I'm going to have to work on that. So you're taking the original identification that you did over here. So you're taking these things here, the feedback on your own performance, and in this assignment, you're adding them and comparing them to the model. So you're quite simply saying, this is me, this is what the model says, this means. Does that make it a bit clearer? If you don't, come and ask me, show me, and I'll tell you. I'll say, look, yeah, you're getting there, or no, you're not. If you're very creative, and I think there were 4 of you that were yellow, so if you're a creative kind of person, which means you've got lots of good ideas and you like doing lots of different things all the time, what are you going to do if you're in an organisation that expects you to be slow and methodical? you're going to feel like you're in a little cage and you want to break out. What are you going to do with people when you meet them? Remember, it's all about the team that you've got. What if your team are slow, methodical thinkers, and yet you are there thinking up the next best way of doing things? How do you take them along with you? Okay, any questions from me? The difference is, on this one, you've just done it generally. In general terms, this is what I think to add. On this one, you have to apply it to a model and a concept and a theory. And then finally, you need an action plan for both. So all you do is you take your action plan from the simpler assignment, look at it on the second one, and refer it back to that leadership model. You're just adding an element of depth to it. It's the same thing, you're just doing it deeper. Okay, I'm going to learn books on, I'm going to read a few books on planning and organisation. You might never have had that in. However, you could say, I've realised I'm not very systematic, I'm not very organised, so I must read books on planning. Okay, I'm not very good at giving a vision. I've realised that I need to develop my creativity because I'm not a yellow. Therefore, I'm going to try to do some more brainstorming activities. I'm going to try to do different hobbies, different things that might make me think that way a little bit more. We'll leave it there. Come back and see me throughout the day. Any questions now on this?
I have a question for the first assignment.
This one? Okay, where?
2.2.
Okay.
2.2 and 2.3. They seem like to be a little bit similar to each other, but can I know what should I expect? What should you expect from me in both questions? 2.2 and 2.3. The feedback and these areas for improvement, and then we have.
I'm there, I'm reading it, I'm there on the screen. Okay. Okay, right. This is where the mark sheets are a bit sneaky, because it says list, and you would therefore think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I've made a list, I've passed. But if you look at the criteria, you haven't. Because for a pass, you need A, the list, and B, this means. So, you might say, read more. Why is the question? Because my knowledge is limited. That's a pass. Okay, I need to read more. Everybody does. Why? Because my knowledge is limited. For a good pass, particularly, sorry for the writing, motivation. So, I need to read more because my knowledge is a bit limited on planning and on people skills that we've done on this. I need to understand more about motivation to apply to my workforce. That makes it a good pass. So, simple list, a little explanation why. I've got to do this because. Another one then. I need to take the opportunity to come forward and present more. That might be a pass. If you just said, I need to present more, no. I need to present more and take the opportunity to do it because I have had feedback that I don't present enough, I don't come forward enough. Why? Because I've got to represent my team in future, and in the company I need to be able to present to anybody. I need to be more creative. There's a list. Why? Because I'm not very good at establishing a vision. and getting a good reason as to why we should do things differently. A good pass, because with the world moving so quickly and the pace of change, then we have to continually come up with ways to improve. And creativity is how we improve. A good pass. I don't listen enough. I've been told that I always hog the debate in teamwork, and therefore I need to step back and just pause and listen in order that people can be more engaged and come together as a team. 3 examples. You still don't look totally happy. Come and speak to me about it later. Has anybody else got any questions about that? So go to what it says for good pass, and it says detailed feedback. Detailed, I'm getting the feedback, look what my hearing aid lost. Detailed feedback is required. A large number of sources. So that was the first bit. Have you just used one source? Have you used many? For part 2, link it back. So for each bit of feedback that you have an action.
You're talking about 2.1?
2.1, I said you need lots of feedback from different sources. I then moved on to 2.2 to say, whatever you found out at 2.1, move it to 2.2 and go, okay, here's what I'm doing for each of them. And you're giving it in some detail, giving a clear reason why you're doing it. So, I'm going to read a book, that's the reason why. I'm going to come forward to present more, that's the reason why. That's the difference between a pass and a good pass. I think it's, and then 2.3, you have to link it back, so each bit has got to show, I said I was going to do this because of that feedback, this is how I'm going to do it. It's got to be a really specific plan. When you move that over to the other assignment, it's got to be related to a specific leadership model. So complete your action plan for the first assignment, then look at it and compare it to whichever model you've decided to use. Oh, body language is a fantastic thing and also a curse. Last thing I'm going to say before you get on and do it. Whichever one you choose to focus on the leadership model or the leadership behaviors that you started with, because it's behaviors and style, keep it all the way through. Don't suddenly, when it comes on to 2.3, say, I've got to become more managerial, according to Tannenbaum and Schmidt, when you haven't mentioned it all the way through. Don't suddenly start using colours if you haven't used it all the way through. You build up from the model that you choose, and then everything else is based on that model. Don't flip-flop between the models. Go on then. I'd like to see your assignments by 12:30. That was me joking. But that would be a red style of leadership, wouldn't it? Okay, let's do it the green way, just to give an example. When do you collectively feel would be a good deadline to stop working here on it and move on to the next topic that we've got to do? So how long between